1, 2.
Yeah, make up from last time.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Mathematically, maybe.
So, what's new and exciting?
Well, let's break some wind.
Yeah.
You and I.
I think we started to chew some fat the other day there. I don't know if we digested the whole package really. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could go into. I don't know which direction you want to go today.
Well, I don't think it's about what I want anymore. It just seems to be whatever this package is.
Yeah.
It just keeps partitioning itself, which is fascinating and exhausting in some respects. But
Yeah.
I love the touch and go. You never know where this fart is going to take you.
Yeah, it can lead us all to all sorts of wild places.
I'm I'm curious what impact this has on the outside world.
I'm hoping it's a positive impact.
I've been checking the headlines daily. Just nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Huh.
Nothing. It's weird.
Yeah. So,
Well,
there's a couple of things kicking around in the news that are,
oh boy.
I guess, pretty exciting. But
Yeah. I guess that's, we can use those as jump off points. It always just goes back to the same fucking Don Knotts comedy,
Yeah.
It's like,
Just a big circle jerk. It all leads back to the same place.
yeah, it's theater world. There's the theater world of the mind and the conceptual, and then the actual world seems to be the afterbirth of, disgusting, whatever our physical bodies are just wallowing in. You had mentioned, I had mentioned the curtain above the sky, and you put it so succinctly when you said it's as if we're just stewing in each other's fart.
Big time.
It's just, I made some steamed vegetables last night.
Yeah.
And I remembered that quote. And,
everybody's heads under the covers in this.
You never know when inspiration's going to strike. And, one of the things that led me back to the tubes was I was working on a painting at the time, and you were working on some creative arts and crafts.
Uh-huh.
And just couldn't quite get away from the tubes. I'd gone through all the characters, and I just couldn't. It just never seemed worth it to sift through, the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour interviews.
Yeah,
And I'm just not.
It's hard to do, like, to actually, sit there and be engaged for some of them, longer sound clips. Like the Santos Bonacci stuff. That stuff. I always get some real golden information out of there, but you got to listen to everything he says.
That's the worst part, is you just can't let your guard down. He'll just smear some shit on your lip.
Yeah.
And it's not that, I mean, it seems like we're charged with that duty. If you want to be the chicken that escapes from the slaughterhouse truck out on the highway,
Yeah,
you got to scramble off to the median and then, or cross the road, whichever. Get out into those woods, and you just got to forage for yourself. But it gets to a point where none of my other woodland creatures seem to be of much assistance. The fox is always offering to help, and the bear gives me that come hither stare,
yeah,
and it's exhausted because it doesn't seem to glean anything beyond what I've found when you and I actually started doing well, just about a pre-pod before we started the casting the pod.
yeah.
There was something resonating, and it was the idea of creating and making art. Now I know it's been said that art is dead,
Yeah,
but its distant cousin lives around the corner from me, and I visit often. And even though it's a cheap Canal Street knockoff, I've enjoyed some time with it, and I have to credit it for being the bond, the glue that brought a retard and whoever you are together
yeah,
in this capacity.
yeah.
So it's I'd like to say it's enlightening, but it just seems to be fun. I don't know when the enlightenment comes, but
Well, it. Some say it's like you rise and fall. Every day. It depends on whose story you want to fucking read.
I guess that's kind of an interesting idea. It
You
was
know,
like, whose story can we pick apart? We have the oldest stories which seem to sustain themselves, but then they become incestuous and self-referential and have to go back. And there's a lot of finagling after the fact to fit the fit the prophecy to the mathematics or whatever.
yeah,
Um, I'm sort of getting the impression that even the concept of a clear agenda is the agenda in and of itself is to create a story that just veils those who've got themselves so deep into the shit or
yeah.
are actually living a fantastic life. It's to maintain the story. I've never been a good liar myself. Have you ever employed lying to any success?
Um, I used to lie a lot when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
it got
Give
me
me
nothing
an
but trouble. I would always get caught in the lie somehow or another, and then like I don't know, maybe around the early 20s, I kind of adopted a philosophy where if I don't tell any lies, I never have to remember anything. So
that's the approach I took. The cost benefit ratio was way out of whack. I think I think when I covered my lies, and it was like when I was a kid. I got it real quick, and then my father is what you would call a compulsive liar, I guess, or a pathological liar,
oh yeah,
where it just didn't matter what the topic was. It was really frustrating me because as a child, you trust your father. It seems to be an intuitive, um, mindset.
yeah,
And as I grew older, I knew the things he was saying were incorrect and not easily verified. And uh, it just, I think I learned that way. It was not efficient. It wasn't a good use of energy. And
no,
plus, my stories to cover my lies were just way too good. Like I gave really good stories, but the details were very poetic, and I think
yeah.
that's what sunk my lie boat.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I like to have a clean conscience, I suppose. But uh,
Yeah,
Again, I don't like. I have a pretty good memory when it comes to people telling me things, and I catch people in lies all the time, and I never call them on it. I just think it's funny.
No.
It's kind of part of human nature, unless you're on this a spiritual path, trying to I guess one up yourself against the rest of society.
Well, yeah, I mean, when your entire world is stewing in other people's fart and there's no escape hatch,
No.
people tend to crack under pressure or just employ what the nearest successful person is employing, which tends to have its financial reward telling lies. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a social, I used to get a lot of pussy,
Mm.
but it wasn't because I lied.
No.
And that sentence is a lie. And I can prove it with Newtonian orbital mechanics.
Oh yeah.
Sure, if I need
Yeah.
to.
You have like a 3D model.
I just got to make a couple of calls, which is great because you can hire people to lie for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is interesting. Deception is what's the difference? You're a smart guy, uh, and we seem to hold similar values, which is really nice.
Yes.
Um, what is the distinction between a lie and a deception?
What's the difference between a lie and deception? Well, deception, you don't actually have to, say anything. It's more of just like not revealing
Uh,
the entirety of the situation.
what you don't say.
Right? But like a lie, I think you actually have to tell something that's or you feel that's false.
Mm,
You're telling somebody the opposite.
mm,
Whether it's a truth fact or not. In
mm,
reality, if I hold something to be, say I subscribe to. I don't necessarily subscribe to the flat Earth model, but say I was a flat Earther,
mm,
um, and I was telling somebody else that the Earth was round. I don't believe that, so I think it would be a lie.
mm.
Whether it's whether I know I'm right or wrong.
That's the crazy part. When the lie seems to take on a life of its own, and then people repeat the wow, what do you call that? A lie that repeats itself unbeknownst to the well,
Yeah,
anyway,
well, that's
deception.
what they do because they want it. They put the bullshit out there, and you get enough people repeating it, it becomes a reality to a degree.
It seems to be very important. Turn bullshit into reality.
Especially when we're in, you know, little pressure cooker and we're all submersed in it.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that as well. Like these things don't only serve a dual purpose, and I'm sure a lot of the purpose that expresses itself later on down the road is kind of maybe unexpected or a happy accident.
Yeah.
You know, it there has to be some wiggle room for the story to kind of reveal itself. There's nothing more boring than something that's just completely formulaic. But who should I should I
Yeah, continue.
should I do ECPR?
Yeah, some electric CPR.
Yeah,
I got this new bag of talking about unpackaging.
funky stuff.
Some rock lock, some smoke pretty good.
Yeah, does it work?
About to find out.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Oh, it is. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a little early. I guess that's tomorrow. That's something
Yeah,
you
tomorrow.
seemed interested to talk about.
Well, that's my that's Vivi D's
B-Day.
birthday there. So
Are you
probably gonna make her a cake or something.
a donkey shit cake?
No, like I've been feeding the dogs like that the raw meat diet
Oh
for a
yeah.
few months. You know,
Yeah.
it's gross to me. Like I just can't fucking stand the smell of the shit. But
They love it.
dogs love that stuff. So I don't know. I was maybe gonna like just give her like a big meat log with I don't
Yeah,
know.
man.
I don't know. You know.
Well,
So
listen, that's Vivi D. That's the German Shepherd. She's gonna be a year old.
yeah, she's a year old.
How many times have you been taking her to the emergency room in this 1 year?
Oh, none. Just that
No, none.
we just had to that time we brought her to get spayed. They found the donkey turd. But I had my one bull mastiff, the one that died maybe a year ago or so.
Wow.
Where I got Vivi as the replacement companion for the other bull mastiff.
I see. I see.
But that dog, we didn't always live up here with the donkey, so we used to live in Queens. But
Right.
that dog really had a taste for socks, tube socks, any sock that she could find.
Oh yeah.
That was probably like I don't know, at least 4 times we had to fucking bring her in, two grand at a time,
Read.
2 grand a fucking clip, just to get a fucking sock back. I mean, sometimes they would fucking come out. Like sometimes she would shit the fucking sock out, and I'd have to you'd
Put
see
it.
like tube sock hanging out of her ass, and she can't cut, can't pinch that fucking turd. So
No,
I have to
and
fucking go out there and fucking slowly pull it out of her ass.
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it's great too because if you're walking around with one sock on, one sock off, you're happy to have that sock back. You can just put that right back on, especially if your foot's cold.
It's like taking it right out of the dryer.
That's, yeah. Well, they always there's always something new. There's something about the creation. Talking about the formulaic, the oh, the physical stuff that we're immersed in now, it going at such a rate, it can't kind of help, but it doesn't have any time to be anything but formulaic, and it's so god awful boring. I grew up in the '70s and '80s. I grew up in a city, the nation's capital, sort of
Yeah,
tri-state area, Maryland and Virginia and
right.
D.C., and then was shipped off into the Midwest to Cincinnati and to the suburbs, and that is when things became extremely boring. Even a dirt bike wasn't really a lot of help because you just were pedaling past one box to another box. It was hard to find trouble to get into,
Yeah,
but thank God there was dumpsters and behind the strip malls there was always something to get into.
yeah,
But creative mind will find something. And I've been able to maintain that sort of inquisitive spirit
yeah,
even into old age. But yeah, God bless the Breaking Wind podcast.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is like digging through a dumpster.
It is white people garbage.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
shit socks.
yeah.
Bull Mastiff. Yeah, so Booger, is that right? Is that one of them?
Oh, well, his name is Rusty, but I call him Boogie,
Ah, Boogie.
like a bug, whatever.
Yeah, Bug. That's what gets some. That got in my head somehow. Good
Yeah,
looking, good looking face on that
yeah, he's a
on that Boogie.
he's a handsome guy.
Yeah, I like when
He,
they drink water and they
yeah,
pull their head up and look at you and they got all that slobber.
oh yeah, they fucking
And
drip all over the house. Especially the
oh
male.
yeah,
The male has always been like a bad with drooling. The female wasn't too bad with,
yeah,
she didn't have the big jowls like he does.
yeah. It's
So,
those jowls. And
hmm
you and you really had some weather phenomenon challenge your roof fence last time we spoke. Is
yeah.
that? Yeah, that's.
My understanding there was a tornado. Exactly what the winds were clocked at, but
Well,
uh, there's some downed trees in the area. Nothing too substantial.
which around last year sometime encouraged you to develop the roof fence.
Yeah, well, it's been an ongoing battle between keeping the animals in the yard um, and them going, about the neighborhood and running down the street. I've had to retrieve them from neighbors' yards several times.
They go door to door, social justice donkeys.
Well, and then I usually once they're out, I get attract the attention of the police. So, a few times we've been woken up at 2, 3 in the morning with
Mm.
the cops calling my wife's phone, telling us the donkeys are on the main road there. And sometimes the cops will like follow the donkeys in the patrol car and keep the light on them. So I mean,
Oh,
I
that's
think
great. They don't.
everybody pretty much knows that they're here. So
And maybe, well, it's lucky they get out every once in a while to remind everyone where they're at.
yeah, well, I do try to walk them, like down the street on lead them on their ropes, and
Yeah,
they like the exercise and they like walking up and down hills. So
sure
I
they do. That's why
really
they leave all the time.
pretty yeah, I'm on a pretty steep hill, like as far as going down the road to the dead end. It's
Oh
it's
yeah,
pretty good. It's a pretty good incline. So
there's
they
a
like
great metaphor.
they like trotting down the road.
And so you got a pair of them.
The donkeys, there's trice donkeys.
No kidding, the
Yeah,
trifecta.
Hank and Amy had a child, which is Waylon.
Ah, that's Waylon.
Waylon's the baby. But even the donkey, Hank and Amy, they're both. I mean, now they're probably about 4 years old. Maybe 4.5. So they're still relatively in their adolescence.
Babies having babies.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, we had the female donkey fixed after. Uh, no, I'm sorry, we had Hank castrated.
Oh, Hank. I
Yeah,
was I was gonna say, it's probably hard putting a rubber on a donkey dick.
yeah. Well, I felt bad, but we brought him up to Cornell. We actually only had uh, I don't know if it was before she gave birth or after she gave birth that we had
Oh,
him. But we can't have fucking a dozen donkeys. They just keep fucking, every year she'd be fucking pregnant. So I
you,
want to deal with that.
I
Yeah,
think that's probably what the overlords say about us.
yeah, yeah. So we brought them up to Cornell. We brought both of them just so nobody had any separation anxiety.
Wow, no kidding. So you got
I mean,
you
as far as everybody's concerned, they're like the friendliest donkeys they've ever encountered. And then they actually took imprints of Hank's hoofs, as a specimen. Like They don't get enough, like a lot of donkeys in there.
At Cornell.
Yeah, so I don't know, something like his hoofs were, you know, a beautiful specimen. Like he could have been a hoof model. They took an imprint of his feet, huh? And yeah, it was an experience. You know, learn a
Yeah,
lot.
so you
I've
got it.
never had anything like this before. I mean, this is all new stuff to me in the past, I guess 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
Haven't
no
handled
kidding.
stuff. So yeah, I was
Well,
pretty acclimated to the city before coming up here.
well, you wear it well.
Yeah.
It seems to suit you. It's something I've always wanted to be closer to. Finances and poor decision making never really
Yeah,
allowed me the luxury,
yeah.
and
It's
it's probably for the best.
a money pit. They're just, I don't know. It's a money pit having a house,
Sure, it is.
but
It's the greatest scam.
yeah,
Well, there's times I'm sure there's windows of opportunity where it's not. For now, it seems renting is to the benefit of a lot of people,
yeah,
but
it is.
because of the nature of disposable everything.
Yeah,
You know, it, I get the impression that maybe 60 years ago, uh, when things were a little bit slower as far as the narrative being cranked up,
right.
you could sit in a box and have a garden, and you know
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to escape the city life of the island down there for a long time.
yeah.
I don't know. An opportunity just arose, and I went for it. And if I had done any due diligence, I would have never fucking moved up here. But it's basically just been a lot of very gloomy. It's not like I don't know. It's very dreary.
Yeah, I hear you. You say you got a lot of mud up there, and well, I have to say I've watched the city change over the last 20 years, and it's the lid and the in the sky and the pressure and the saturation in the air, humidity, and there was years on end where there was never a thunderstorm,
Yeah,
which led and there you one of my favorite things when I first moved to the city was these giant thunderstorms that would crack in the I was in area with tall buildings, and it was, oh
yeah.
man, the echo was awesome, and the way the rain would smell on the asphalt and stuff. Like this is this is before I started climbing up into, well, wherever the hell I am now. Mentally, I can't appreciate any rainstorm because I see it's coming from the red and white smokestack right down the street.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get into the.
They're candy canes. They're harmless.
They're harmless.
They're marshmallows in the sky. Cotton candy.
And there's nothing more disturbing than going out on a day where you get supposed sunshine, but there's nothing but the obstruction. There's the haze and the lines, and depending on my mood, I wonder, oh, am I actually? Is it just did I did I get that angle of the head fuck where no matter what the sky looks like, I'm gonna be in a down mood, and I'm
Yeah,
having a nocebo effect,
yeah, yeah.
or but I've heard it from other people who don't pay attention to these things, and they say they just can't get their physical trainers, things like that. Say they can't get their energy up. They can't keep and maintain energy, and I go, I don't say shit, But I go, yeah, it must be some validity to it, because if you're not aware of it and you're feeling it, even just the sunshine itself, it's dreary as fuck in the city, I guess is the point.
Yeah.
And it seems to be that's the trend everywhere. People who appear to be real on my screen,
Mm-hmm.
who aren't pushing an agenda or repeating certain catchphrases over and over again, things like that. Just put up a cell phone video of what's going on around them. And it can't just be for nothing. And it can't be just for whatever. It's, you could do your searches. You get the retarded Mickey Mouse stuff out of the way pretty quick. I
Yeah.
started looking at this about 7 years ago because I was outside a lot. And then you go, okay, well, no, they took soil samples and all. It was like, well, where are they getting the soil samples from, and who is this character?
Yeah.
And what labs are they sending it to?
Yeah. They're all
And
diversity.
yeah, and what are they testing for, and what are they not testing for? And I went on the whole roller coaster, and I'm at a point now where I go, where I'm probably supposed to be, which is, meh, eh. I understand why old men sit in rocking chairs and don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm presently sitting in a rocking chair, but I'm talking to you.
I wish I had a rocking.
Oh man, you got all that space. You should have several rocking chairs.
Yeah. I wish I had one. Part of the process of moving, like I moved around quite a bit, down there also. So I can
Sure.
always acquired things and then basically gave them away or whatever,
Yeah.
threw them out, and then
Yeah.
ended up having to buy, same stuff over and over. Like,
Yeah. Well, when you get far away from, other people's garbage, well, that's how I get my stuff anyway. Like there's a lot of hand-me-downs from fellow New Yorkers.
yeah, I mean, there's really slim pickings up here. I mean, there are a couple, antique stores, maybe a dozen or so, within the
Oh yeah.
half hour, 40 minutes. Maybe a dozen different antique stores. They do have like swap meets and stuff.
Sure.
Uh,
Flea markets and
Usually anything good, it gets scooped up right away.
you got to speed up.
Yeah, you got to
See,
like
that's,
go all the time, and I'm just not into any
I
like
hear you.
consumerism. I rather
Me
actually build my own rocking chair. Actually,
No, I hear you.
that might
That,
be a video project I do.
that's. I'm looking forward to not sitting in that chair,
Yeah,
but seeing the process of you develop it.
yeah. Well,
As,
everything I do has a certain flavor.
yeah, you have
Yeah,
your own mark on your work.
yeah, yeah. So,
So
but what do you think? Like the moisture in the air, or the gloom. I don't know. You think it's we're making it for ourselves? Do you think that's like we have control over it, and humanity is just in such a shitty place because we're so disconnected that we're basically we're putting dark clouds over ourselves because we're in such moods. Like, is the sky a reflection of our overall
I
mood?
definitely entertain that idea,
Yeah, I would say so.
but I'm real familiar with myself now. I like, for example, you get to a certain point, when you're full of shit, and when you're perpetuating something and things like that. And like I can call myself out, and I'm not concerned with being right. I just would like to be a decent human being. So, I have been in that mindset and stayed in that mindset. I don't know. I'd say probably about 8 months ago, for about a month,
Right.
and I said, okay, this is the situation. It's up to me, and I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it resonate in a way that I didn't feel connected to that idea. So I kind of let it go. But the doom porn definitely always seems to show up and can dismiss a good part of that. And I think the doom porn will stick you into that state of mind.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget how deeply immersed we are in the power of suggestion. And it, we've just kind of unconsciously submitted to a lot of fairy tales that it's just, for example, just getting out of time. Like I don't wear a watch. I don't really check the clock all the time. I don't stress out. I go at my own pace. I show up when I need to show up, but I keep my life fairly simple. But still ingrained in my head there's got to be a beginning and an end. And in my more balanced states, I don't feel the need for a beginning and an end. And a story has to have a beginning and an end. And we just have so many stories around us that it seems like, the story will sit there until you open it up in the book and read it. So you have to opt in. So there's got to be something to your participation with that.
It's maybe an interval between. Uh, it's the rest period between
Yeah.
the two books. Um, I suppose. You know,
Mm.
'cause
Well,
you won't have if it was all peak the whole time, and there was never any you know, it would basically be a straight line instead of a sinusoidal wave. I think, you know.
I'm
You-
not following 100%. Meaning the connection of one's mood to the outer
yeah, like
atmosphere.
we need to rise and fall. Like I don't think
Oh, sure, sure,
it
sure.
can't all be rise, because
Of
you'll never be able to distinguish the good times from the bad time if you're still, living in that dualistic.
Sure, if you have a front to something, the back follows it. If
Yeah, you can't
it's
have
just,
one without the other.
yeah, but I think graduating beyond that idea, even taking away the connotation when I experience my life, this seems to be a time to be to go inwards. Like if I'm so repulsed by the outside, go inward, slow down, focus on the individuals around me, few and far between, and sort of use my energy efficiently. So as things become more disgusting, I feel more compelled to shrink down. So this is definitely a time where I'm not going out to the beach and playing volleyball with my buds, and I never did that anyway. Like the idea of a jet ski never looked fun to me. Like
Yeah,
all these things that people enjoy just seem like so horrible and like just boring to the extreme. Like it's fast and loud and boring. And
yeah,
but like looking at the weather, taking away, okay, it's not good, it's not bad, getting away from the idea that there's an agenda. Uh, you can play all kinds of games with yourself. Oh, they put this up here to kind of, I don't know, maybe Weather War 101. I picked up the idea that they're doing this to get rid of the pollution that they put in the air. So they're putting these other things in the air to pull the pollution out and dump them out at sea or something like that.
Yeah.
And, but then you look at pollution and it's like, well, that just is another guilt trip they sent you on. But there's something to be said for getting poisoned and whatnot, and that's something Aaron Dover generally brought up a lot of times, and he didn't seem to follow what the phenomena in the sky to any great lengths. Is just an immediate dismissal. And there's people in Australia that have claimed to have never seen these things, which is bizarre to me. And the idea, it's not without purpose, but it seems that these things are often harmful to people in general. But that's not the main goal. But they have something they want to do, so they're going to do it. For example, they spray for mosquitoes under the guise of spraying for mosquitoes. They come out here and they put up paper signs all over the telephone poles and lamp posts and say, these are the dates we're going to spray your area. And it's got all this, happy-go-lucky, don't worry about it sort of stuff.
Right.
And websites that you can visit and things like that. But, is there really a mosquito problem?
No, it's all job creation.
Well, so yeah, creating a job to perpetuate the physical fart stew.
Yeah.
It really is several different realities going on at once. And to try, I guess the idea of trying to pinpoint what it is impossible. There is no is. I don't know. That's why shit show seems to be a pretty appropriate term.
Yeah, it's
But
a shit show.
But the up and the down and the good and the bad, and I get it. But I mean, if you take 99 sane people, what is sane being, like decent, healthy, happy people, whatever, pick your image, and you have one crazy person or one violent person, let's say one violent person, generally that violent person is going to start to adopt the habits of the 99 people. Where if you take 99 violent people and one sort of passive person, the passive person is going to get spit roasted and chewed on. And that's part of the process, I guess. But this part of the process stinks, man. Like,
Yeah, well,
it,
you gotta have darkness in order to see the light.
well, I guess that's what it is. Like going, instead of going out and searching for something out there, financially rewarding or socially rewarding, something like that, I'm just compelled to go in. Just kind of led to this podcast, really.
Yeah.
Working on the paintings, creating more. I mean,
I think that's what we need to really focus on is how we create a system or, um, just create our own reality.
sure. I guess
Tune ourselves to a high frequency, I suppose.
that's the aspiration for sure. And once you get out of the sort of the Looney Tunes, you go through the anger and the confusion and the like sort of the mourning process of coming out of all of this.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of always pulls me back in is like, dog, the sky, like the whole fucking sky, like every day. And then I go, well, maybe the sky's not that big, and maybe there's the optical thing. And I go, man, but damn, the whole, you just can't. You're just in it. Like there's no, there's even when you go inside, that fucking sky is still up there doing whatever is happening up there. And I guess there's part of me that knows there's the duck and cover, get under your desk to avoid the nuclear blast. You know, there's the school shootings, the duck and cover to
Yeah.
avoid the Adam Lanza blast.
Yep.
And then there's the miniature models that seem to be revealed. I don't think these things are revealed, or the geocentric concept of the whatever the Earth is. These things being revealed, I don't think they just come out all on their own because some guy in Thailand doing some fucking yoga poses got a bug up his ass and wanted to, you know,
Yeah.
stick it to the man. Like, these things are released. So when this sky thing is revealed as some sort of threat, either a biological threat, a Russian threat, a Chinese threat, a pollution threat, an environmental threat, whatever it's revealed to be, it's, man, that narrative is going to be stuck around for another 60 fucking years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do we have a connection? Like, we're on a feedback loop. Whatever we respond to in the media seems to perpetuate the narrative one way or another, seems to
Yeah.
direct the narrative.
Right.
And I guess the internet is an integral part of collecting that feedback and adjusting the advertising and the narrative. But it seems it just can't hold together like that. And maybe revolutions are sort of, if the revolutions do exist, it's a reaction to the revelation of the method, that it's like, damn, I spent my whole life buying all of this bullshit. You know, I'm a little bit more passive about it, and I go, well, of course, I kind of always knew. But
Yeah.
some people might take to the streets and start, you know, you might want to put a few tanks and some militarized trannies between you and
Yeah.
the
People don't
shark,
like being lied to.
you know. But
Definitely, people don't like being lied to.
yeah, maybe that's it. So I don't know.
Truth hurts.
I can't handle the truth,
Well, I don't
but
know.
I'm
I think that's
curious.
because of like and that we're in. We're not able to like think at a higher capacity.
Yeah, that's the other sort of downer, which is like, damn, I'm way more stupid than I thought. I'm like once I started looking at the sun and the moon, I was like, God damn, they really are the same size. I always knew that, and I started following them in the sky. I'm outside a lot, and I was like, damn, well, maybe it's just like it's a big. I had memories of the universalis, the spheres, the music of the spheres, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, I remember some uh, Rosicrucian literature or diagram where there was spheres within spheres, and there was an outer layer of fire.
Right.
And I was getting into Chinese medicine and the balance of wood, metal, water, fire, and how they all interact. Water will swell the wood, and fire will dry the wood, and everything's interchangeable. The metal will cool the fire. The fire will heat the metal. I was like, oh, this makes sense. I've got it. Eureka, you know? And I was looking at the sun as sort of like a pinhole.
Right.
And then, Ken Wheeler's got sort of an attractive, unattractive personality, and his big monster magnet down in Florida. And, you know, the, the monkey people, stupid monkey people. And
Yeah.
it's entertaining, and it's like, well, I don't like to just get down on humanity for being retarded and whatnot, but your magnets are cool, and it's like, wow, it could be this toroidal um, motion. Maybe the sun is following the sun and the moon. Well, I guess the moon probably being some aspect of the sun. Uh, Refraction or something there, spinning around in these coils and these sort of, I don't know what you call them, epicycles, right? And it's like, oh, maybe it's we're inside a magnet engine with anodes and diodes, and then Dollard gets in your head,
Yeah.
and Bach and music and all these things. But this has already been rehashed and rehashed.
Well, yeah, but you have to basically take this journey on your
Pull
own.
it apart.
So you can't just be told everything, because then you won't really receive the marrow of the lesson.
I guess that's where we started, like pulling it apart. Maybe it's the exercise of struggling with what's going on in the sky.
Well,
Maybe,
there there's a there's a story. I think a Zen master to a disciple. Uh, you know, there was basically three horses, and one horse would run before you even rose the whip, and then a second horse would run only after it's got hit by the whip, and then a third horse would have to basically get the shit beat out of it to start moving. And which horse would you rather be? The one that just instinctively ran, or the one that had to get its ass beat to be motivated to do something? And then basically it's if you knew anything about the compassion of God, or the compassion of Buddha, you would want to be the most severely beaten horse, because you'd receive the most, you know, the most from source, basically.
yeah, that's the Buddhists really love to hang out on that. I, when I came back from Hawaii after not
Yeah.
dying, and I decided to immerse myself deeper into the mainland fart.
What years were you in Hawaii?
I was there. 2000. It was right at the transition. When was Sandy Hook? Because when Sandy Hook happened, I
Uh,
was that was at 212, 2212. It was either 200, 211 BC or 212. And then when did the shit really fall out for me? So I think 2010. So it must have been 2011. It was a transition because I had some anamascaria, something or other. What do you
yeah.
call it? And and I remember on the mainland something about some kids got shot up, and this is before I had any concept that that was a TV show or whatever, and I was like, man, I made the best decision to get away from that fucking crazy bunch of motherfuckers, and
Yeah.
I stopped watching any sort of media or news. So that's 2011. Yeah, so I took some mushrooms the night when was it 2012 when the fucking space Mayans were supposed to come down
Yeah. Yeah.
and punish me for eating animal flesh and indoctrinate me into
Hmm.
some new culture of higher frequency.
Yeah.
Eh, so it was around 2011. But when I came back, I needed to have some. It's very easy to overlap with people in Hawaii from the mainland. I guess you call them expats. Haole, I guess they call them, was like white folk.
Right.
Haole.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of opportunities to go to like Buddhist temples to meditate. You go to work share programs to be exploited by
Yeah.
some farmer who riding the new wave
Yeah.
popularity and new age popularity. But when I came back to the city, it's just a bunch of people fucking stressing the fuck out, going to the gym, doing yoga poses with just like, wrenched faces and all kinds of problems in gray skin, and I couldn't find some place to express this meditative principle I'd developed through Buddhism in Hawaii.
Right.
And so I found a group, which I've never been a joiner of groups, but I thought, hey man, I just went through this experience. There's people who do this group meditation. It's based on Buddhism. I'm going to check it out. So I went to Midtown, and it's just such a crazy thing. You know, you get these echoey cement chambers of death with, you know, elevators that go up to some mysterious floor, and as soon as the door opens, you know,
Yeah.
it's industrial carpet with a bunch of barefoot people and the stench of like patchouli in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like 18 stories up into this building, and you can hear off in the distance the, you know, the rush hour traffic and the honking.
Yeah.
And, you know, chicken wire over the windows and the dim light coming in from it being blocked by all the other buildings. And you're just sitting with these people who are obviously in earnest. They're smiling, that self-satisfied, you know, like yogi tea chamomile feeling, barefoot on the floor, you know, in an uncomfortable pose, looking up at this emaciated, bright red haired Jewish lady talking about the value of suffering.
Yeah.
And it goes on to where she had said so many things. I being myself, you know, I didn't raise my hand, but I raised my voice at a certain point, and I said, you know, there's value in expressing the joy of learning something new. And everyone is maybe 70 people sitting there. Yes, you know. Immediately, she shot that down and said, that's selfish. And it's better to turn that around and look at it as how I'm doing something else. And I said, well, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And everyone laughed. And she hated me
Yeah.
through the rest of the fucking thing. But it was all like stuff. The concept. You know, how much suffering do you have to endure to? Are you just panning for a little bit of pleasure? Uh, I'm mostly miserable, but not because I enjoy being miserable, but when I do have pleasure, it's this very nice, steady, even. I came out of a bad situation. I have, you know, my belly is full for the most part.
Right.
I don't have any enemies anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, is that maybe that's it, you know? But point, what is the point here? Manifesting. So you manifested a bunch of barnyard creatures
Yeah.
and a money pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But again, I could choose to, I really have no motivation is my main thing. I
I
just
feel that too.
feel a little like, you know, just beaten down.
Yeah.
Because you're going up against a system that basically has unlimited resources that, that they could
You
use
nailed
against.
it right there.
They could use it against you, any way they see fit. They act as
Yeah.
but you could do things and you know put a guard up, so to speak, and kind of shut them out and just pay no attention to them, and they eventually go away.
Yeah, do they? That
I,
I mean,
they might try to resurface, but yeah, I'm overall pretty, usually pretty bummed out about, like having to go and like work and make some money and just to fucking get by, just to be able to fucking, live. You have to leave your household to, get,
Uh,
get an income, and paper money.
well,
I,
you have to suffer
yeah,
to get what you deserve. It could be this Catholic Freemasonry theater that we've just been in that we can't even think a way around it. Like I've been an entrepreneur for a while, but what you hit it like motivation. I have no motivation. Like this horse, you could just whip this horse
yeah,
and and it's like I don't know. I'm not even feeling it.
yeah, but you'll make it up, you'll the other end. I oh, I
What do
think
you
every
mean?
I I think everything harmonizes at some point. It just
Yeah, it's got to, right?
yeah, I think so. I mean,
That's that would be useful to grow up knowing that, like, hey, you know what? This is going to harmonize. And like, oh, that actually motivates me.
yeah,
But
knowing that there's an end in sight or goal, a finish line, or something like that.
to quote, I think the last show that uh, Dylan Ellis did was
Yeah,
the Australia show,
yeah,
and he kept he it was really good to listen to that because he says each show that he does just gets progressively worse. Like so, what he did
oh, that's great.
with Dover was like the number one show ever,
Yeah,
and I have to agree. And then what he did with Vishal, the What If show,
yeah,
was like the second greatest show ever. And then
yeah.
I think he did two episodes of the Australia show with Vishal, and
Yeah.
he was like, "This is just the worst." And Vishal was like, "Yeah, bro. I think every time you do a show, it just gets worse. So maybe it's time to stop." It was just,
I think all fucking golden, but
and then Dylan said, "Yeah, well, you're gonna die, so we have that to look forward to."
yeah,
And it made me laugh because, oh yeah, that this death thing that's been put in front of us, it either doesn't exist,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like the big joke. I had a feeling that I fell down some steps about uh, 20 years ago. No, not 20 years ago, like maybe 12 years ago. I fell down some steps and I actually died.
Oh yeah,
And I've been Bruce Willison ever since.
oh yeah, yeah. I've had some similar theories, or
Yeah.
because I was in a bad accident when I was I don't know 16 maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, I was definitely fucking you
Car
know
accident?
on the fucking face of God,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was in the back seat. Me and my brother were actually both in the back seat, and the fucking Jew bastard that was driving fucking went underneath a parked truck, and
Oh.
yeah, almost killed my brother. I was like fucking, I was in ICU for like 3 weeks, 3 weeks to a month, on a morphine trip.
What
Yeah,
about
like a guy, and all that type of stuff.
the guy must have lost his yarmulke.
Yeah, well, he said he dropped his cigarette.
Well, in the tradition of that culture, yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, well,
It's only a couple
uh,
of goy.
I think it all was for some reason, you know.
Well,
I don't,
yeah, maybe you
it,
died and maybe I died, and we're meeting on the some strange vacuum ion tube of
huh.
Bruce
Maybe
Willisness.
that would make sense. Maybe that's why I can't hold on to,
Yeah, well,
anytime I earn something, it's gone like within a day.
it could be. We're wandering the earth and that, that seems to be the stories that, the 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 dead undead, the ghosts wandering the earth looking for finality or closure. But maybe it is just you fucking like trying to make money, you're going to work, nothing's working. And it's like, God damn, this guy's just not getting the fucking point. Like, dude, you died at 6 years old. I just remember this too. I drowned when I was uh probably 6 years old. It was some giant raft at somebody's pool, and my mother had divorced, and my mother was hanging out with these strange people,
Yeah.
but they had a pool, and there's a couple of other kids running around. There's times I was, wondering what kind of strange satanic cult, looking back, was this, but unattended children in a swimming pool leads to bad things, and I got trapped under a inflatable raft for a really long time. Like, I can remember it like crossing over, but it didn't happen. So maybe when you die, nothing happens. Because when I fell down the stairs, next thing I knew, I was sitting on a bar stool ordering like a rosé, and the guy was looking at me like, are you sure? Like, yeah. Like, and a couple hours later, I was subway that had been redirected when somebody took a wrong turn in Albuquerque and went to East New York, and I didn't remember passing out. I guess you don't usually do that, but I woke up and the back of my head was just gushing blood, and I was confused. That's what I have to, because hours prior everything was fine. I thought, well, maybe I got beat up and I didn't remember. But
Yeah. Well, your body has a defense mechanism that does that, where it blacks out the traumatizing events. Like
wow.
I don't remember any of it really. I mean, I vaguely remember, 2 or 3 hours, up to like say 2 or 3 hours before, or maybe an hour before it actually happens. Like I can't like that. Like the other passengers in the car were like, "Yeah, you were fucked up. You were fucking, you were moaning, you were moaning and fucking like, like,
You were
whatever.
bitching like a little bitch.
Well,
You were
yeah,
down there.
yeah, it was fucked up, but yeah,
Yes.
your body has a reflex to block things out like that.
Memory. Wow, the illusions certainly have our number when it comes to memory too, and triggering memories, and
Yeah, and implant
this.
false memories.
Oh yeah, and then and just it's a joke when you hear about like the Manchurian candidate and activating these people with catcher in the rye in the back pocket to
Yeah,
shoot music legends and things like this. It's the perfect allegory for us because you know I got taken along on a pretty good ride in 2015, starting with the military sergeant who would lead his marks, and the the Patricia would steer the show, this sort of thing.
those fucking yeah, yeah,
And I fell off of that really quick because it was so obviously burlesque. It was just complete and total burlesque. But then you had Mark Knight, and you had the Wakey Wakey, and then you had these, the alternatives seem so rational. And then you went, and then 2016 passes, and 2017, and Jade Helm comes and goes, and it's like, how many of these things am I buying into? I JFK was fascinating for so many years, and now I can see that formulaic catch and release program to keep you going in and out, and these memory triggers. But brother, I never, even the cosmology of the Earth completely changed for me. But when Berenstain Bears became the Berenstain Bears, and the
Yeah.
Jif peanut butter changed its logo. All these things are just cultural things that, depending on what part of the country you grew up in and how you look at it and what you remember. But I can see where you can get stuck in there and start. The gematria is the same way. You can get stuck in these dead end.
All webs. It's all webs just to keep you entangled
Yeah, and then
in that type of thought.
sure,
But
and the long stretch ones, like what's going on in the sky. There's obviously monetary incentive, financial incentive for that on in some level, because you just don't do shit for free for no reason. There's a Disney aspect to it, but I don't want to get roped into it on any level. And so it seems like not sacrificing motivation, but just like the lack of motivation, that's probably a great way to get out of the time trap.
yeah, yeah. I don't wear a watch. I don't have a. You know. It's, I think I escaped a lot of that mental conditioning. You know, being stuck in that whole daze.
Sure. Well, that's interesting too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely all. Uh, but it's up to us to actually put the pieces together,
Yeah, and that's
figure out what's going on. For it's just a way of uh, like see it once, do it once, and teach it once, and then it's you retain that information forever. So
mm,
we have all of the information we need, and now we just have to figure out how to implement it, and then tell others how to implement it, and it would be concrete.
yeah. I've kind of lost hope in the idea that, like, good God, if I could just piece together for myself something that's a little bit satisfying, I don't need the end all be all unified theory of all creation, but just a little personal satisfaction of pulling these tomes apart, and
Yeah, there's
the,
really
the
no advantage of knowing
yeah, yeah,
words.
it,
There's just words talking about words and just discussing the words. Word.
yes, and then the measuring the measurements
Right.
into
Like
words and the same thing.
a true God, my my foot is my measure, So like
Yeah,
the whole division of 12 inches being a foot and it being, like a ruler, um, you're basically caught in somebody else's paradigm and their geometry, and like a god basically, uses his own foot as his measure. Why you don't have to, uh, you know, basically measure things to build something. You could just build something, and
right.
not whatever the dimension ends up being. The dimension ends up being. Why do you stick on 16-inch centers, and why do we construct things the way we do?
Wow.
Um,
That's there's so much liberation in that idea, and it's so counterintuitive because the what is it when you standardize? You standardize something,
yeah,
and that allows you to build on that and commodify it and distribute it and this sort of thing.
right.
Just
Which
seems to
is
be just too many too many people in the sense of like not enough division not like overpopulation, but there's like smaller groups of people tend, I imagine, tend to work together a little bit more harmoniously.
Right.
And when you have this standardized way of looking at things, where everything has to be the same, and you urbanize people into these giant groups, it's naturally going to express dysfunction.
Yeah, they want to standardize everything, and so it's easier to control and meter.
Yeah.
You know, they know how much to charge you. uh,
Well, I mean, that's
but
exactly right.
they're definitely like time is the biggest one. I think they're trying to fix time to move at a fixed rate when really it's relative. But being in the sense, um, uh, think of a flip book if you can. Uh,
Yeah.
the more pages you put in there, the slower the motion's going to look. If you have a guy walking from point A to B in 100 pages, versus A to B in 400 pages, it's going to be slow motion in the 400 pages
Right.
because
Right.
more frames per second. So
Right.
basically, if you have a cognitive function and you can process more frames per second, if you would, uh, you know, time is basically moving slower. Like things move slower to me. Just
Yeah.
like my whole concept of time is, I'll be on a job for an hour, just it'll feel like 2 days. you know,
I've got the exact same thing.
but
It's
I think
relative
time
is the
time
point.
is all very relative, and into it's all like you say, kind of like the eye of the beholder. You know, my
Well,
my eyes can process the information faster than the guy next to me, so life is life is moving a little slower. You should see me like if I go anywhere,
hmm,
um, you know, you could tell I fucking I used to drive a commercial van in the city for a long time, and
mm,
he's had a commercial truck and banging around the Manhattan and Queens, and you have to be a fucking aggressive driver.
yeah. Right.
You want everything now. You're always in a fucking. So
Right.
I always kind of I don't know if that's just a douchebag mentality or if I'm just processing things faster than everybody else, and I want to fucking to me it's normal time. To them, it's a hurry. Yeah.
Well, man, there's a lot to be said for that, isn't there? Because there
It's
are
always
people
those
who function very well in fast-paced environments, and
yeah,
they are dickheads mostly, but they're good at what they do.
yeah. The smarter you are, the slower. Yeah, the slower time moves. You know.
Well,
So
it stands to reason, and then the outer limits of all this conceptual manifestation into reality. Time really is the ring. Is really not everything else is just a byproduct of time. Saturn, the idea of it being the outermost, you know, fucking planet or light in the celestial system of whatever the fuck with the ring around it, and
yeah,
it's got the computer generated hexagon cube on the top and bottom of it, and it's
yeah,
like, there's no need to fucking do that. But they
yeah,
do it, and it reinforces these triggers. Like something a long time ago in one of your videos, you talked about it, just basically clicker training for humans, and I mean, it's to the point where you could snap your fingers, and someone acts like a chicken. You snap your fingers again, and they see the Berenstain Bears, and you snap the fingers again, and they're, you know, voting for Obama and snap it again, and they're buying Pop Tarts,
Yeah.
and it's just it's it must be like a delicious, you know, sensation to have this sort of power over mass groups of people. It must be very addictive. You know, what was that?
Well, I think their idea basically they feel obligated to relieve stupid people of their wealth because ultimately
Yeah.
they're just going to spend on Mountain Dew and you know, but it'll just end up at Walmart. You
Well, it's so fucked up.
know.
It's so fucked up because you remember from living in the city, like how many hospitals and like walk-in clinics and places are there
Yeah, it's
in the
disgusting.
city? It's
Disgusting. It's
disgusting.
like that's like their a bread and butter operation. You
I
open
mean,
a dialysis center or something, you're a fucking millionaire.
oh my
You'd be a
God.
millionaire overnight.
It's just, and you just buy one thing that perpetuates the obvious result that's hidden to the victim, and you just set up shop on the same block.
Yeah,
You're making money in, you're making money out. You know, you
I had a conversation about this. It's kind of like they're fattening us up with all the shit food,
you
and,
know,
and then they're getting you to a point where you're sick and you're seeking medication, and then you're basically so subdued. You're
oh,
basically easier to be led to slaughter.
sure, and you're celebrating victimhood by wearing a pink ribbon and then posting it on a social media where just reinforcing the group mentality that victimhood is fighting. Anyone who encourages you to fight for something is duping you,
Yeah,
because the idea is to resist fighting,
yeah,
resist resistance. So
yeah.
when you
I don't think people are
hmm?
coerced
Oh,
doing all the time.
I lost that whole sentence.
I said humans don't have the natural instinct to be violent towards each other. I think that's all stuff that's instilled uh,
Yeah,
by the media and environment just to you know keep us all disconnected from each other.
sure. I mean, and they just jam as many people into a stifling, humid, hot fart Dutch Dutch oven,
Oh,
and they're bound to snap. It's complete Django Unchained, man.
yeah,
Nobody really wants to smash somebody's skull open with a candlestick.
no,
But, you know, when you got Leonardo DiCaprio sitting there giving you the go ahead and there's a lot of money at stake, I don't know. The pressure builds.
yeah,
People
I don't,
behave very poorly, but I have trouble blaming them.
yeah. Well, you have to, we're all lifeless. You gotta take what you can get and take what you can take from each scenario situation. Try and dispel the rest.
You know what helps with that perfectly is dispelling time.
Yeah, it
Like,
does.
when all the problems go away, like when you can really grasp it. And this is difficult for people who associate time with a clock
Yeah, if there
and
was no
12
time,
digits.
the bills would never do.
Well, there you go. So, you know, I took my scenario to the extreme maybe a dozen years ago, where my motivation was so low, and then I dispelled the myth of time to the point where I I didn't mind not eating. I didn't I didn't pay rent, and things happened, and then the pressure mounted, but I didn't have the energy to get back out of where I was.
Right.
And I mean, it was a hell of an experiment. I'm glad to have that.
Still there? We lost the ghost of Retardica yet again. We lost.
Clock. No.
Oh, there. You there? Hello. Symbolic architecture. The Oriental architecture extends to Babylon and India, but it is mainly Egyptian. Originally, and in the rudest times, it furnished dwellings for the living in subterranean excavations. In Egypt, it came to provide not only for the housing of the living, but also of the dead. The pyramids contained the tombs of the kings and of sacred animals, and their passages indicate the migrations of the soul after death. The Egyptian temples likewise enclosed the abode of their divinity, but these abodes were mere apartments vanishing into insignificance when compared with the extraordinary vastness of the whole buildings. Thus, the temple, while containing the chamber of the god, did not lose the characteristic of independence.
All right.
You there?
I hope you're having a good conversation.
I was reading a chapter out of this here book. Uh,
Sweet.
Let me just maybe finish this chapter for this paragraph.
Oh, well, excuse the fuck out of me.
Its symbolic character was shewn, however, in the enormous labor required to obtain the mastery over the material, indicating the struggle of the spirit to develop itself out of and above the material world. This symbolism is still more expressly embodied in the windings of the labyrinth, which represent the courses of the stars. The same is seen in the seven squares upon which the Tower of Bulus rested, and in the seven circular walls enclosing the Sun Tower at Ecbatana, and in both of which structures may be clearly recognized an indication of the ancient number of the planets. Again, the obelisk or mnemonic pillars are symbols of the rays of the sun. The buildings at Persepolis, in like manner, were symbols of the center of the good, outwards from which the kingdom of light spread to a wide circumference over all the peoples. Further, the Indian temple with the fucking dog. This fucking dog. The whole fucking time I've been reading, she's been fucking biting my fucking arm. I can't do it anymore.
Mumbles!
Stop it!
Mumbles!
Stop it! Cut it out. All right.
Oh,
Well,
fuck.
let's get back to what we were talking about. Fucking bite me.
Uh,
Stop. Ow.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday
really.
to you.
Stop it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Where were we?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we were really talking about the weather.
Nah, Uncle Retardica's famous word salad. Everybody wants a bowl. This happened the last time, Mumbles. It was 5:05 that
Oh, yeah.
it cut out. So something must happen on my end.
Huh.
And then uh, I think things must just pick up in the city. Also, starting around 4:30 in the city every day when it's quote unquote overcast, the um the
Yeah.
skylid breaks open. It either dissipates or it's unzipped, and the air starts to the wind starts to blow. So, inadvertently, maybe we discovered Reese's Peanut Butter Cup style, the connection between what's called cellular technology, Wi-Fi, and the opening of the sky. Because I have my window open and the breeze, it's been dead still.
Well, I think the moisture in the air for a reason, and ultimately, uh, I think that's basically they're using that a lot with their
Yeah.
land-based triangulation, and there is no uh, satellites, if you would, so
What?
so everything's like land-based triangulation, and maybe in most instances they actually bounce frequency off the clouds, but
Yeah, could be.
and then
What
also
about? Oh, go ahead.
all the each droplet of water can store quite a bit of information. So,
Isn't it interesting? We store things in the cloud. I personally do not use the cloud,
right.
but I noticed when the clouds started forming, you started using that terminology, which is a common mnemonic device, I would say, in the culture.
Right.
And the cloud, interesting.
But yeah,
Storing.
you could, there's plenty of science out there as to water being programmable and being able to hold the memory. I think they put like a video clip of the Mona Lisa or something, like they shot a video.
It's always some shit like that.
A droplet of water, like I don't know how small the volume of size the water was, but
Right.
it's definitely programmable.
Even that story is programmable.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see it uh, in the snow. Each snowflake is forming some sort of pattern based off of a frequency that it's.
Yeah, sure. Well, I haven't seen that kind of snow in a long time.
Well, yeah,
We get these little ice pellets.
yeah, yeah.
Have
A
you noticed that? The
couple
different
years ago.
textures?
Yeah, a few years ago we had that snow that you would, like compact it and like put it under a heat source and it would turn black.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know if you ever had that in your area, but
In my area, I had it. I got a ball of it outside. I
yeah.
brought it in. It melted and there was no water.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. How you like them fucking apples?
yeah, yeah. It's a fucking vapora.
I've had all kinds. They go through different recipes throughout the course of a storm too,
Yeah,
and then they rain on it and then wash it all away, and it's gone the next day. Like you get a foot and a half of snow,
yeah.
and then they'll salt it and rain it away.
They disperse all sorts of stuff in the atmosphere. Uh,
It's just a
who knows what the concoction really is that's coming down on us when it rains. I know.
must be.
Like some towns, they actually like spray, pig blood and stuff. And
I've heard that, but I mean, how do you prove that, or how do you get analysis for that? They just say that they do it.
no, I mean, residents have spoken up. You can see the blood on their fucking roof. Their windshield is like
Wait
a fucking mist of blood on it.
like that? It's not even like a blood particulate. It's just straight up blood.
Yeah, it's like a mist of fucking blood.
Maybe that's what they should do with the mosquito problem around here. Just say, fuck it, we're just going to go balls to the wall. We're just going to spray blood. Maybe it is a ritual thing. These white lines, I don't know if you ever seen, I don't know what it's called, but in the Hasidic culture, there's some ritual where you put white lines to delineate your property, and you can actually just run a clothesline across the street and say that's mine.
Yeah.
There's more details to it, but I I think I looked up something a few years ago. It was related, are the Amish Hasidic Jews or something like that.
Right.
And I stumbled across this information that where if you run a line across some property, you would technically own it if you have a mutilated penis and an inverted transgender wife.
Yeah.
Well, that seems a clever way to, you know, accrue wealth.
Yeah, yeah.
And under the guise of a victimized religion, who's going to challenge you? So
No.
these white lines could also be used for mapping, the high altitude vehicles in lieu of the beloved satellite. They have to get this imagery somehow. So you lay down some grid lines for reference. Maybe it helps you do your image projection onto a 3D surface and then render it for people to use on their computers
Yeah.
for navigation. I think that's a big setup too. Is I haven't watched these videos in a long time. There's ones that are popular to go through. I mean, they're using the tool of the fucking, demon devil himself, the ball globe Google map, and they zoom in on these areas. They find these suspicious things without ever considering it's the same animation programs that they use to deceive with other stuff.
Right.
And there's going to be a narrative at some point where, like, oh, we found. I mean, you can do anything. You just Photoshop anything into that ball, but people just accept it. They don't resist it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question: What? Why are we different? Are we dead? Like, did we die and we're just living here and we can see it clearly? Like, we're in the afterlife. Is that why? What? How do we understand this stuff and the multitudes do not?
I think there's like, I don't know where I like uh, the call, the ones that are like hear the calling, the ones that are chosen. You know, I forget the rest, but I just think that we might be a calling. I think gets back to riding different frequencies.
Oh man, a calling from what fucking charlatan this time?
Well, ultimately, we're going to be caught in the web to a degree, as long as we're in this physical body. Uh, you know,
Not easy getting around that.
Who's to say that we don't have a chance to escape from this, repetitious cycle of, coming into this and experiencing it. But from research that I've done, it's all basically, given the opportunity, most people want to come back and experience new experiences. Given the option, you know, just because they have so much physical attachment to this, this plane. So
Give them what they want.
they get coerced. They get coerced to come back into the life cycle instead of just living in the astral body.
If there's do you still have an individuality in the astral body, or these things are I probably just fruitless to even unpack?
Well, it's like again, it's. I think I made a. I probably said it before, but I'll make this analogy. Kind of like coral. I don't know the exact species of coral, but it's one organism. It's uh, one community of
Mm.
thousands of individual, uh, you know, living individuals, but they're all sharing the same structure. So I think that's kind of, we all have the same substrate. Just
Mm.
whether it's osmosis, through the skin and contact with the humidity in the air, moisture in the air, rather,
Mm.
or I don't know. Think the I think the atmosphere has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean it's that seems apparent.
Well, just atmosphere. The word alone is kind of telling. Like what the overall tone that they kind of want to set. Everything that we have is kind of ends in disaster, or like world
Mm.
end, world end apocalyptic zombie,
Yeah.
end of the world type scenario. They want everybody to think that we're going to hell, but
Apparently they've always done this too. Like this is such a common thing. I didn't realize that I was listening to some of those podcasts I sent you that the cathedrals are often used as just theaters, and the Freemasons would go and build these. Well, they wound up becoming towns. They would build these theaters, and people would kind of pilgrimage out to go watch this entertainment of
yeah,
these life actors in these cathedrals, and this is where they would get their programming. And guy was saying it was medieval. Oh well, whatever. Whatever. But it's medieval theater, morality theaters. And
yeah,
so, and I've always been curious, like, because I can't watch anything anymore because I just see the same story over and over again. I mean, it's subtle, and if you're just into the, no offense, the fart jokes and that sort of stuff, you may gloss over it, but it's always the same story of the rise and the fall. And this seems to be an integral part of our time uh, clicker training. Is you just have to keep reinforcing the rise and the fall and the rise and the fall, and there seem to be these tricks to these hypnotic tricks. Like now, everything is neuro linguistic programming on any sort of television or radio. You can hear it echoed in people's just everyday conversations. They sound like an episode of Friends or like a dish soap commercial. Uh, it's neuro linguistic programming, which is just a hypnotic rhythm to
yeah,
put you into a certain state of mind and trigger you to act like a chicken if need be.
yeah. Lower,
And
lower, lower frequencies keep you fucking.
yeah, yeah. And then so uh, this escaping the confines, the outer confines, the outer roof fence of this territory
Yes,
seems to be Saturn, the Reaper, the time, the god of time, the god, using that term allegorically, the god of time, the god of government, governing the mind and governing the people, and the god of the harvest. The harvest has a rise and a fall, and these sort of things. And I mean, just the clear repetition of the imagery of Saturn in the form of a planet or Saturnalia through holidays and just whatever the imagery that comes along with that.
right.
I think even the Cyclops is a reference to Saturn. I mean, there's a bazillion of them. The freedom lies outside of this theater, and it's the theater of time. And these morality plays give you characters to emulate or um, hate to direct your emotion one way or the other. And it's just none of that stuff is good for you as the embodied spirit of whatever. And then so getting away from the entertainment and the psychological effects of this stuff seems, well, I mean, the only way out, but once you're out, where the fuck are you? Again, this is the whole thing for me. I always come back to that. Like not the practical application, but if you want out, are you are you fucking sure? You know,
Yeah,
you say people want to come back. It's their choice to come back. Yeah, maybe you're right.
yeah. I mean, if it gets back to the game of hide and seek that God is playing, he's just basically dividing himself into as many parts as he can, just so he has the ultimate perspective, and because he has a higher cognitive function than, than all of
Mm.
us, because it's,
Mm.
he, he's got a lot of channels to fucking surf, you know.
He's in a worse position.
Well, yeah,
He's
it's
like
a
entertained
shitty
himself
job.
into
It's a pretty
entertained
shitty
himself into. He's fucking asleep at the wheel here.
job. Yeah.
Fucking
Well,
the with the Indian chief on the black and white screen, just
yeah,
conked out. Like, oh, fucking too much.
yeah, no, it's definitely. I think you can make the best or worst of every situation, and I think ultimately all these things that are being done to us, I think the people that are doing the decision makers have good intention, whether it's based off of bad science or people lobbying them, that have a lot of money,
Yeah.
get laws passed to to create a need for certain products, like like you were saying, they spray in the spraying your lawns, for the mosquitoes or something. You know,
Yeah.
it's just unnecessary job creation. Uh,
Yeah. The best of intentions. What is it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So,
but and then on the side of that, so they're doing it out of good intention, ignorance, or corruption, or they they believe that we to basically be subdued to pressure in order to form into diamond.
yeah, that's a beautifully Kabbalistic perspective that seems pretty popular because once you fuck shit up so much, the only thing you can do is say, turn up the turn up the heat.
Yeah.
We got to burn it down and start over again.
Well, yeah, that, like they shovel so much on it's like taxes. If you go your whole life paying 50% income tax, and then somebody comes along and cuts that in half, you're gonna think he's like a savior.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well,
but
there's a
really, there's still he's still down.
yeah. We see that a lot. That cycle happens a lot in the city because it's just such a compact theater. You can just see people love that sort of build and then release. They were going to build a what is it, the Amazon complex here in Long Island City, and they built and prepared all of these things and drummed up this narrative, and then at the end, like, man, can't make it work.
Yeah,
And then some people were celebrating it as some kind of victory, and I'm like, man, I don't think that's exactly how it works. Like, you just wait to see what gets put in its place,
yeah,
or nothing, and it's going to be another stage set for something. But whatever. It becomes boring
yeah.
after a
Well,
while.
ultimately, know, a lot of the control masses, because if people were, for a majority, most people were left to their own devices, there would just be havoc in the street if they didn't actually have to rely on this paper money, based economy where
Oh
you know
yeah.
to fucking have a useless job to go to. to just get enough means to keep your lights on and keep some food in your kitchen.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's like taking your hamster and releasing it into the woods as an act of kindness. It's not really that kind.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
you know you,
not gonna know what to do.
in this in this like,
You were bred in captivity.
where where's my wheel?
Yeah,
My wheel's fun.
bred in captivity. So
Yeah, so if you pull the plug on the conceptual reality on these hamsters, good God.
yeah, it's like the donkeys. Like when I had just a few acres fenced off, you know they they would always be looking on the outside of the fence, like, oh, we want to go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So then
right.
finally, after so long of them being confined to a smaller space, once you extend that fence line, another, couple feet, or, in this case, a few 100 feet, maybe another acre or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you extend that boundary, then they feel like they have more freedom.
Next thing you know,
But
you got a donkey lunar lander.
well, then they start poking around, the fence. They just keep exploring the boundaries. What else is there to do except just go and explore
Well,
boundaries?
that's a pretty fair wrap up right there, man. Because if you see anything, there's definitely the there's stuff, and then there's the shell around the stuff, and then there's more stuff that develops some kind of shell around that stuff, container within container within container within container, and I guess we're just donkeys nosing around the outside of the roof fence.
Yeah, we're trying to see what's outside.
What's over there? What's
Yeah,
over there? What's over there?
and
Oh shit, it's the cops.
yeah,
Where's my balls? Oh, you should have stayed in the fence. It's so confusing. I'll find out who did this to me, who mutilated my genitals.
yeah.
You'll never find them. They're hidden. They're hidden in plain view. God damn it. It's the same story.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
this Breaking Wind podcast makes it a lot more fun, I have to say. So I would like to extend my thanks to
Yeah, it's
you.
exciting. It's exciting. It's mutual. I guess you got cut off again.
Well, I can't hear you.
Oh, I said it's a mutual thing.
Well, that's lovely. All I could hear was like somebody eating peanut butter.
Yeah, it is peanut butter. How did you guess?
Is it? Because I know what you do.
Yeah, it's peanut butter.
We've done that how many times? Enough times to confirm that the mirror accordion of ether water umbilical cord is in full effect. I can
Well,
see. I
yeah,
can see what you're doing.
that's the
Well,
yeah, yeah. We're definitely in this same substrate, and ultimately, you know, it's. I think it's an instantaneous connection.
must be. It's
I don't.
nice.
Yeah, I think it doesn't doesn't have a regard for time. You know, I
I
think it's
think a requirement is the absence of time for it to function.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely help.
Well, I'm gonna let you get back to your peanut butter.
Hey, all right.
I have a gallbladder cleanse to do that I've been
Ooh,
preparing for the last 7 days,
wow.
and in an attempt to Get rid of the stones that have built up
That's
within. Hmm?
that's no good.
No, it's great. Everybody's got them.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's got a sack of gravel and stones built up in their gallbladder next to the liver because your filter is all clogged up with, I don't know, probably peanut butter,
Yeah, I guess.
donkey shit, chemical spray,
So
mosquito spray,
what you
cobalt
basically
blue, canary yellow.
so you're giving your gallbladder a colonic? Is that what you're doing? What
Well,
do you, or you
it's
have
it,
pills like
it's a
pills?
long short story. Maybe we'll get into it next time if I
Yeah, no
make it
problem.
if
All
I
right.
make it through. But it involves Epsom salt, watery diarrhea,
Oh, you
expand.
gotta make some record some sound bites.
Well, yeah, we could throw those into some bumpers for commercial breaks.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's not my first time at the watery diarrhea
No, it's good.
rodeo.
I like those colonic.
Yeah,
I
well,
haven't
maybe
gone
we'll
in a,
do that.
I haven't gone in a while. I used to go to a place called Cleansing Concepts.
CC.
Yeah, yeah. But they did eventually started offering the service where, give you the coffee enema and all that. Like they had all sorts of different, like
Yeah, it's a
natural
la carte.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Pick and
Feel,
choose. Yeah.
feel great afterwards.
I've never had one of those full colonics. I've always done the stuff myself, like coffee enema
Oh, yeah.
and I got all kinds of enema recipes.
Yeah.
It has improved my functions greatly, but
You,
this is a big one.
cleansing concept. Yeah, you go, you fucking basically sit in this like recliner, like this hard plastic recliner. Like you put the tube up,
Oh
yourself.
no, they don't
Uh,
do it for you.
well, I've been to one place that does it for you.
I want a nice lady to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I've I've had that happen once.
We have a lot to talk about. It can be the the self health episode.
Get
That
into this. Uh, uh,
Oh, I'm losing you.
into this recliner, plastic, and yeah, you basically just try and hold as you can, and like massage your stomach, and kind of do like crunches, try and loosen
Yeah,
everything up,
they make you do
and
everything.
yeah, yeah, and then you for as long as you can, and like get that, until you have a lot of water pressure built up in there, and then you just, yeah, you'd be
Don't they suck it
surprised.
out?
Well, yeah, it all goes into a thing, and then it's all plumbed out where it goes out. But initially, it holds all the shit there, so they can actually look at it and see, came out.
Man,
If you go as far as dissecting poo to determine what changes you have to make in your diet, but not
well,
many people do that.
you can put me at the top of the list
Yeah,
because
Jillian, you ever watch? I know you don't TV, but that there was one show. I think it was like a BBC show. Like you are what you.
oh
Some
no.
lady, Jillian O'Keefe, I think her name was.
Okay.
Like in every episode, like she'd basically like come and live with you for like a week or two,
Oh,
and
fucking
but
hell.
she would make you poo in a Tupperware container for her,
Oh,
and she could tell
this.
everything about that person's diet. What
Listen, I could too.
poke the she would poke the poo. And like
This is
they would
horrible.
they would blur it out. It's not like like the blue fucking blue dot over the poo.
Listen, man. this is where they take the good stuff and then they make it horrible so that no one will ever try and look at their own poo.
Well, maybe there's something there that can be
Oh,
explored. The
yeah, well, maybe.
donkeys, the farm animals seem to have, a pretty symbiotic relationship with their food.
A refined palate.
Yeah,
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 maybe. Well, I don't know. When you start jumping from different species and different behaviors, I know cows have to have a certain kind of acid, or cats have a really strong acid in their stomach
yeah.
and things like that. But donkeys were probably not too far, probably
No,
not too far cousins from the donk.
no. I,
But
we're
here's
actually the closest to the mushroom. Uh,
that's something that I had dug up a few years back when I was on a real big McKenna kick.
oh yeah.
Yeah, really got into that mushroom, and it's peculiar, as he would say, peculiar.
You ever read the Food of the Gods?
Yeah, do you ever read? Oh, I actually had got off of a torrent some years ago. A mushroom, his original mushroom guide.
Oh
He he,
yeah.
he wrote under some nom de plume,
Huh.
and it's all Xerox copy, and it gives you the step by step thing how to grow them. I'd never had access to
Yeah.
appropriate spores or courage to attempt it,
Right.
but yeah, interesting stuff. And going
Yeah.
talking about the coral and the neural network. I
Right.
guess that's what you would call it, or the
Yeah.
communication network that they have. And,
The brain coral. I forget the one unified body with 1,000 separate, eyes, basically. Where
well, it's not.
each little eye has capable of, getting its own food and, doing
Well,
all.
so that sounds like uh, the humans, but where did we get interrupted? Where is our harmony?
Yeah, well, it'll come.
Fucking
It'll come.
theater.
Hopefully, it will come. It might work well with my one of my theories that where we move in time, we're actually moving in time backwards, but we perceive it as forwards. So
Mm.
our death is actually like a birth, like So you come into this world,
That's backwards.
in a reversal. So come in all, and by time you go back to the womb, you know nothing. And what's something about only like children will be, through the gates of heaven or something.
No, that's
So I think we're definitely perceiving things backwards. If everything about this world is kind of backwards, reverso retardica. So why not our perception of time? You know,
well. It,
as a concept of forward linear motion or forward progression. Always tearing things down just to build a new fucking building. It's just I think they're just like markers, and to
mm,
keep that forward progression, that appearance.
there's some liberation in that idea.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work it out.
Yeah, would you have
Fine.
it on my desk by Monday, please?
Yeah, well, I have to do paintings. I have to paint, and
Yeah, I miss watching your paintings. I miss
yeah,
making paintings myself. I'm having
and
trouble figure out what to do with the two, but I do enjoy watching you paint.
yeah, I think I'm gonna do the old switcheroo with the channel. 'Cause I'm afraid if if I just keep pumping out videos, that the Breaking Wind series will basically be drowned out
Well, listen, on
as
my
far as
channel,
news feeds go. I YouTube puts my videos in people's suggestions if it does that at all. But
who knows what?
if any of my content is actually getting in front of an audience that's not already here, I want them to see the Breaking Wind or hear the Breaking Wind dialogues
I
before,
like it.
you know. I mean,
Sure.
a
Well,
lot of my videos, very obscure. I was actually thinking of like going
you don't
back
say.
and and watching and listening to some of them just to see,
It's fun.
if I still, you know, have any unexplored, ideas, or if I still hold the
Oh,
same
you all
same
out.
things.
I enjoy using the channel that way, is to just go back and watch what I was doing
Yeah,
maybe like 3 months prior. Uh, Surprisingly, embarrassment rarely sets in. I find something that I didn't unpack very well, but uh, it's enjoyable to kind of watch the idiot struggle
yeah,
with some things. Not the idiot, but it's like, yeah, the retard. Like watching the retard try to play basketball is, pretty entertaining. Like I'm
yeah,
trying to get the ball in the hole, in all earnestness. I'm really trying to get somewhere, trying to do
yeah.
something, score the points and wow the crowd.
Right.
And you go back to those old VHS tapes and good golly, I hear you. On my channel just is some clue, a little tech talk, a little break and win tech talk. I went into the inner workings of the whatever they call it, the creator studio, and
Yeah.
I saw that I could upgrade my time limit from 15 minutes, to whatever it is. I don't know, 2 hours or three
Yeah.
hours or
Yeah. I
unlimited.
think you put a phone number in or
But I got
something.
to put a phone number in, and I
Yeah.
refused. I refused to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't
Maybe I'll
think.
do that too. Maybe I'll just pay
Don't
my phone
pay
in.
them.
No, well, I used to have the YouTube Red, and it was handy just because you could actually turn your device like it off and like have the video playing, and still have the audio in the background.
Oh,
So
you can do that with different apps too, man.
yeah, but like not on YouTube unless you pay for the premium.
Nah, man, I'll
Once
teach you
you
that
hit the
stuff.
power, once you hit the power button, use the unless you pay for the premium.
I found a way around that on my cellular device.
Well, what do you use? The website?
You just download a different browser, but you're working off. I think you're working off one of the. You like have a whatever the other format is. I'm not familiar with Android,
Well,
but
no. Now I'm on a fucking
you're on a
iTurn.
you're on a payphone.
An iTurn.
Well, so I can just because the audience loves this, and
Yeah.
you go in the apps and you
Yeah.
look up Aloha browser.
Aloha.
Yeah, Aloha. That
Yeah.
should be easy to remember. Well, look at how
Yeah.
that ties in.
Yeah. Hawaii. Wow.
Yeah, so get Aloha browser, and then you have that function. You can turn off the screen and still listen to your Lord Stephen Christ from Prison Updates.
Yeah. I really don't spend a lot of time on the channel. Like I'll just go there and drop by, do like some light to medium trolling, and leave. But usually it's just like the same thing over and over. But what can you do? I guess we lost Retardica again. So I guess we'll And
I know.
you there? No, he's gone. You're back? So maybe we'll just wrap up this episode of Breaking Wind now that we're experiencing technical difficulties once again. I guess he's not going to be joining me for the exit.